Good evening, Vice-Chancellor, Chairman of Council and other members, parents, family, friends, CPUT executives, lecturers and staff, and most importantly, good evening, graduates. With your permission, I'm going to share three broad aspects with you tonight. Simply put, they are the past, the present, and the future. So I'm going to get right into the past and tell you a little bit about my story. In the early 1990s, I enrolled for a business qualification at the then-known Pentech, or Peninsula Technikon. So if I refer to it as Pentech, I do apologize. It's a fond memory I have. At the age of 19, I matriculated alongside my friends at Alces River High, and we decided that we were going to join Pentech because they had a really, really good soccer team at the time, and we decided that we'll study some form of business. So I enrolled in the Retail and Business Management course, and back then my dream was to sit in this exact chair that you're sitting in tonight. Some of my lecturers I remember at the time was Mr. Terrace Amanis, Hyacinth Adams, and Tanya Peterson. I remember them 18 years later because I think they must have had an impression on me, and I think they may have contributed to kind of where I am today. But I think more importantly, the reality was that it was 2 years post the first democratic election in South Africa, and there were vast opportunities for young students like myself. And one of these opportunities was freedom. And so I experienced freedom in abundance. And in addition to this newly discovered freedom at that age in my life, I also discovered a very well-known tertiary institution card game. I won't mention the name of this card game, but I managed to master it in the cafeteria. I guess simply put, I was drowning in this freedom and all the freedom I had at my disposal. And the bottom line is, I can say to you tonight that I'm a Pentech dropout. So I didn't finish my qualification at Pentech. I kind of ended up with the wrong crowd. I very early in life got in wrong with the wrong priorities in life. And I guess that was kind of where I was at the age of 19. So I dropped out of my first year and I decided to come back the second year and hopefully try and pull my act together. And midway through my second attempt at my first year, midway through, I found myself not excelling again. And so I finally dropped out of the then Pentech. And so I disappointed myself, those around me, my parents, my friends, because I was kind of the first generation that was going to graduate, and I didn't quite graduate. And needless to say, that invited a whole host of issues in my life as I reflect back 18 years. And I think maybe this is an important aspect for me to raise right now and perhaps pause and say that in reflecting all those years gone by, I think something that comes to mind is that we are not islands. No man is an island, and we're all kind of connected in some way or the other. And so I'd like to perhaps just say to the parents, the guardians in this hall tonight who stand proudly behind these graduates, these very successful graduates, a special acknowledgement and mention must go to you, because it was through your perseverance in pushing these graduates, and whether you were strict or not strict, I think their success largely today is also thanks to you. So to the guardians, parents in the room, please give yourselves a round of applause. To the graduates in the hall today, I want you to please realize that you did not arrive here on your own. So you are not an island either. Your parents, your guardians, they've been instrumental in your success. They stood by you throughout your late nights, assignments, and so on and so forth. So I hope that when you get your first paycheck, you're going to treat them to a very special meal or a very special gift. I'm going to go back to a little bit of my past, and in the interest of time, I'm going to skip a few chapters of my life. But I think the important aspect is, when I had hit rock bottom after dropping out of my second year, or my first year, a friend of mine came to my rescue, and he arranged a job for me. And I think the important aspect here is that sometimes all we need in life is a second chance, and someone who believes in you no matter what your circumstances are. So indeed, my friend was there for me, and he arranged the job for me as a contact center agent in a software development company, and that was my entry point into the IT business. Reflecting on this lesson, I'm pleased to tell you that I got myself out of that pickle, and I reflected on my mistakes in life. I did something positive about it. I surrounded myself with good people. I changed my attitudes towards life. I worked really hard. In my early 30s, I embarked on adult learning. I'd been married then with 2 kids, and I had a career. It was really, really tough for me. Tougher than anything that I've experienced as an adult going back to study, because I was in dire need of a tertiary qualification. As much as I had good IT knowledge, employers were still looking for someone that has studied. So if only I'd stuck out at Peninsula Technikon at the age of 19 and graduated, who knows where I would have been today? Who knows what life would have been like? I guess one never knows then what the outcome is. It kind of turned out okay, I think. I was fortunate enough to have very special people in my life who believed in me, who stood by me. And at times when I did not believe in myself, they were there. And I think that was instrumental for me. So in a nutshell, my education, coupled with my high work ethic, kind of opened doors for me. And I'm in a very fortunate space today because I love my job and I love what I do. And I don't know how many people out there actually love what they do. I get out of bed very energetic in the morning, wanting to make a difference. Graduates, if it seems self-centered that I'm talking about myself all the time, I assure you that the next few moments is all about you. And so I'd like to share with you my lessons learned a little bit further as I move into my next theme called the present. I shared this personal account of my story with you because I want you to realize just how important this night is in your life. Don't underestimate what you've achieved by graduating today. It is a humongous achievement in your life. Don't take for granted what you've achieved. It is an absolutely super achievement that you've pulled off. I assure you that. You've reached a very, very important milestone in your life. You may not see it now, but trust me, you will see it very, very soon. The world we live in today is a very complex world, far more complex than what it was in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and even the 90s. We have moved out of the industrial age into the information age. The information age is fast moving, it's highly paced, and it is ever-changing and instantaneous. So as a large employer today, I can share with you what the business world looks for when we recruit staff into our organizations. First and foremostly, we no doubt recruit graduates first. This tells us that you have an ability to start something and end something. It tells us that you've achieved academic excellence and you can probably finish something very successfully. It's what I call you've done the academic gymnastics. You've thought about things from multiple angles, and that is very, very important to any employer that you would face in the future. My interpretation of your qualification tonight is that you've learned the techniques of how to think rationally, how to think innovatively, and how to think creatively. Don't underestimate that level of thinking in organizations. It's sometimes very dead and boring in organizations. So you've achieved your academic excellence, and you're probably going to continue to study as you further your careers and your life, and I encourage you to do so. Keep empowering yourself. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you can do. So I also don't want to downplay your academic qualifications, but in my opinion, it's only the ticket to the game. You've now got access to the organization. You've done the academic part. I think it's a very important chapter in your life. In your business career, you're going to have to be very dynamic, nimble, and creative in your thinking. You're going to have to be agile in your execution capability inside of the organization. You have to be resilient, and you have to treat adversity as an opportunity and not a threat. You have to be hungry to learn all the time inside of the organization you work for. You've spent all these years investing in your IQ, your intelligence quotient. I think the time has now come for you to invest in your emotional intelligence. Build that resilient skills. When you enter the business world, it is fast-moving, it is ruthless, and it could spit you out very, very easily if you don't have emotional skills and a strong emotional bank. You're going to have to burn the candle at both ends to be successful. If you really want to succeed in your career, you're going to have to work really, really hard. You also have to work very smart. And the smarter you work, the more success you will have. Let me also pause and say that smart work is not a compensation for hard work. I think you still need to work hard, but if you couple hard work with smart work, you're definitely going to accelerate your success in any organization that you work for. You have to be thinking like an entrepreneur all the time. Even though you're pulling a salary at an organization and you're not responsible for paying the salaries, I think thinking like an entrepreneur is very important. Run your job like a profit and loss center. Wastage and all of those good things that erode profits is humongous, and you can make a material difference by adopting an entrepreneurial mental model in your jobs one day. Surround yourselves with the movers and the shakers in the organization and become a trendsetter, not a follower. Don't go to work and just draw a salary. Challenge the status quo in the organization. As you enter these organizations that have been doing things for X amount of years, question why things get done that way, and think about how you can better the processes internally inside of the organization you will join. Above all of this, do this in a constructive, sophisticated manner and in a calculated manner. Don't do this in an arrogant fashion as the newbie that enters the organization with your qualification. You may find yourself at a very bad end of your work experience. I can offer you this advice because I've been there. I've kind of knocked my head and I've learned that you have to be what I call bobbing and weaving in the organization. And again, that comes through your emotional intelligence. So having said that, it's probably a good time for me to wean my address off and talk about the future. So we've covered your academic skills and the need for profound emotional intelligence skills. But there's still two very important aspects which you need to consider as you think about your future. And that is having a very high work ethic and also changing your attitude towards life. In my experience, I cannot begin to tell you the importance of work ethic and attitude. You have the ability to conquer all obstacles if you have the right attitude. Some of you will very likely work for blue chip entities, and I encourage you to do so. But I'd also like to share with you my view on the organization that I work for. Yes, I work for government. I work for the City of Cape Town in the IT department. And often people criticize government, saying that government is mediocre and government is incompetent. I cannot lie. There are spheres of government that is in pretty bad shape. But I assure you that the City of Cape Town is not one such of government department. It's a very well-run metro, and it's a very important metro in terms of our country at the moment. The city is run on business processes and business principles. The city is just like any other blue chip entity and has the demands like any other blue chip entity has. I think the key issue for us is that the key part of our success, out of all modesty, is the alignment of our people, our processes, and our technology. And those three spheres working side by side has brought the city some form of, I guess, accolades worldwide. I run a department that we take care of the SAP software, and that is the lifeblood of the organization through this piece of technology. So my love for business, my love for people, and my love for IT blended placed me in a position of changing people's lives through software, and we can talk about that outside of this forum. I think it's very important that we have profitable blue chip entities and private sector organizations. But I think it's equally important that you've got the correct environment for private sector companies to thrive. And I think that's why government has to be clean, government has to be open, and government has to create the conditions for business to be successful. So I mention this because I want you to realize that if you are ever faced with the opportunity to join government, don't perceive government as a second-grade job. It is just like a blue chip entity. It requires fresh thinking We require graduates in the organization and young people like yourselves that come in and challenge the status quo. You will from time to time get involved in corporate social responsibility projects for Mandela Day, and most blue chip entities take a day out to do this. When you join the organization or government like I did, every day kind of seems to be Mandela Day. So, graduates, you have achieved a wonderful certification at this wonderful tertiary institution that I would have loved to have graduated. And I feel very honored to be here tonight because I'm kind of feeling as if this is my graduation too. So in conclusion, graduates, please understand that today you are far better equipped than most other people you know. You have a sought-after business qualification. The world is your oyster and only you can decide on your destiny from here on. Destiny is not an act of chance, but an act of choice, and you have a choice over your destiny. I therefore request from you graduates that from here on, you surround yourself with people who fill your cup with goodness until your cup runneth over. Fill yourself with high work ethic, confidence, humility, and compassion. So one day when people say to you, you are so full of yourself, you can say, yes, thanks very much, I know that, because you'll be filled with these very, very things I've been talking about. In the words of the late Steve Jobs, he says you can only join the dots looking back. You can't join the dots looking forward. And so when you look back in a few years to come and you join the dots, I hope the picture that emerges from that is a long, illustrious, successful picture that you will sketch for yourself. So I guess from me to you, celebrate responsibly tonight, have a good party, wake up tomorrow morning, make a difference. Congratulations once again for this wonderful achievement that you've pulled off. And remember one simple rule: the business of business is business. Thank you.